I hope you're having a great day. It is Tracy coming to you live from New Hampshire Writers Project headquarters. And I am here today with author Dale T. Phillips. How are you, Dale?
Fine, thank you. Hello, everybody.
Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Dale is here with me today because he is one of the presenters at the 603 Writers Conference coming up on June 14th. And this is the last week for registration. So we wanted to get Dale in here so that he could talk about his wonderful presentation coming up. And we have a little tiny, very tiny sneak peek into the mystery activity that he's going to be leading as well. If you've been to the registration page on the New Hampshire Writers Project website, you might have seen a mystery activity listed there with very little information, and that is very specific because we don't want to give it all away. We want you to come and experience it, but Dale is leading it. He is the lead detective, rightfully so, based on his expertise, so he'll give us just a snippet of what you can expect there. So Dale, love that you're here. I'm so interested in what you do because I know that you studied writing under Stephen King. And I'm curious, what was that experience like and how did it shape your approach to storytelling?
Well, it was kind of like winning the lottery. He came back to the college he graduated from about 9 years before and taught for 1 year as writer in residence. And I was there and took the classes that I could from him, and it was superb. I don't think I'd have become a writer if not for that experience, because he was so knowledgeable, so inspirational, so insistent upon learning the craft, always improving yourself, always trying to tell a story better, and just writing. As you know, probably know, he writes just about every single day of the year. Even now, after 60 years of doing this, he still sits down to write when he doesn't have to. And he's got what, 75, 80 books out now at least. So I've only got like 36 books out, so I'm trying to catch up. We'll have to live a few more years to find out if that works. But yes, his enthusiasm for the craft of writing, and not just scary stuff. People assume that he's all scary, but there's so many other works. There's a Stand By Me from his Story of the Body. There's The Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, Dolores Claiborne. I mean, so many other things that he's got, including fantasy. And that's it. I'm also a multi-genre. I don't just write mystery, but that's my bread and butter. And
Well,
learning from him, just it took a while to get started, but uh, when I got going in 2011 with my first novel, then I've been going great blazes ever since.
yeah, it must have been an amazing experience. I can't even imagine. You know, teachers have so much influence on our lives. So that's great that you had that experience. And like you mentioned, you've published novels, you have over 80 short stories, poetry, and nonfiction. But I'm curious, what draws you to the mystery genre in particular? Was it his influence or was it a number of things?
No, his influence not particularly. He has written some mystery, but the thing, I believe it was Raymond Chandler who said, the average book doesn't get read, the average mystery does.
Hmm.
And I know that I've always loved mystery fiction. Arthur Conan Doyle and Agatha Christie, of course. Starting with the Hardy Boys, which almost every male writer and a lot of the female writers have done. Start with the Hardy Boys, the gateway drug, and possibly Encyclopedia Brown, to get that puzzle solving activity in that get the mind stirring. And then the Dashiell Hammett, Raymond Chandler, James M. Cain, even Mickey Spillane, John D. MacDonald, Robert B. Parker, as well as all the female writers, Sue Grafton, and the I. Warshawski series, thinking about the female detective. Um, it's just such a great framework for doing anything you want. You can do, time travel mysteries. You can do historical mysteries. You can do contemporary, future, any geographical location, any style, any protagonist, any method of telling it, from epistolary to, first person, third person, whatever you want. It's so flexible. And writing a book is hard enough. And you go, well, what do I write about? And at least a mystery gives you an idea. something has happened and somebody is involved with it and usually is trying to solve it. And when there's an element of danger to the crime solver, that's even better. Sometimes it's a policeman, it's these amateurs who drop in and solve crimes. But when they get personally involved, as I do in my series, the Zach Taylor series, there is a real immediacy and danger that the reader feels a personal stake in. And that's wonderful. It's so easy to pull the reader in with a mystery because people love them. It's the puzzle solving capability. It's the fact of crime is so terrible that we can get a catharsis by seeing a fictional presentation of it and seeing that justice may be done and seeing the world can be set to rights at the end.
Well, and I'm really excited because you are using your expertise at your presentation at the 603 Writers Conference. I know that you're offering a workshop called Building a Mystery from Idea to Finished Book. Can you give us a little bit of a sneak peek on what attendees will learn and take away from your presentation?
Yes, absolutely. I compare the building of a mystery to the building of a house. First you have to decide, your location. That's part of your setting. You have to decide what kind of house. You don't just get a bunch of material and start, whacking boards together. You start with a plan. What kind of mystery is it going to be? What's it going to be? You might have your character, you might have a scenario, whatever you have, but you build it bit by bit. Start with the framework before you get to the finishing. Get a roof on it, and then start doing the interior, adding the decoration, as it will, and the plumbing and all the interior of it that makes for a satisfying experience. And there's a lot of things that you can do that make it easy to follow, and a lot of things you shouldn't be doing as well. And I know we only have an hour and 15 minutes, I think, for each class, but I'm going to try to give them as much as possible. And plus, I'll have a set of slides that they can get after the fact for resources and more information.
That's fantastic. That sounds like great tools and resources you're offering. And I love the foundational approach. I mean, that is just such an important way of building a story. And, my background obviously is in marketing. And a lot of people say, where should I market? How should I do this? I'm like, write a business plan. That's your foundation. So yeah, foundation. I love that you're using that as part of your course presentation. So, obviously you've worked a lot with mystery writers, and I'm curious, what are some of the common mistakes you see new mystery writers make, and how can they avoid them?
Well, even the professionals nowadays, even professionally edited books coming out of New York that are bestsellers, still use the smell of cordite. And that's one of the big bugaboos, because cordite hasn't been used in ammunition since World War II. And yet it sounds so cool to put it in there that people still keep doing it. And when that's the case, I just toss the book aside. It's like, lazy, you didn't learn, the editor didn't know, and everything. But as far as a lot of mistakes that rookies make, newbies or whatever, people starting out, too many characters. I think a lot of mystery readers don't like the 300 person cast of characters that they come across. It gets confusing for a lot of them. Some of them may be older, and they're like, I don't know who's who here. Not grabbing the reader from the start, doing these accursed prologues where somebody's running through the woods and you don't know who they are, what the scenario is, and that's supposed to pump up the action, and then they switch to something entirely different for chapter one. Just start with chapter one. We'll get to that stuff later, but you don't have to drop the body on the first page, which a lot of agents, publishers, and editors like, but you should give an indication early on of what kind of mystery it might be, and some foreboding, some premonition of what's going to happen later on. You need interesting characters. If people do not care about the characters, think of these summer camp movies where you've got a bucket of blood and a guy with a mask and a knife, but the teenagers are all just stock characters. Nobody is developed really, and you don't care. And that's why I don't prefer these movies, because it's like, you don't care what happens. It's not real when you don't care. It's just people for the sake of putting them in for the plot device. I think characters should be well-rounded, well-developed. I don't always see that in some starter writers. Um, the plot doesn't matter as much, plot per se. It's nice to have, but it's the characters that matter, and putting them in a situation where they have to react and sometimes be proactive to get themselves out of trouble, to solve the crime, to save others, all of that. And I think that's the best part. And just keep writing and get good editing. That's the thing that a lot of new writers need to know.
Yes.
Get good editing from people, professionals who do know the genre and know the tropes and know how things work, so that you can make it a smooth, easy ride from start to finish. When I see errors in these manuscripts, I call them speed bumps, because the reader's going along and, oh, whoa, now they have a question that didn't get answered. Now they have been pulled out of the story. Now they're just like shaking their heads or doing an eye roll. And I go, avoid those. Get right to the end, and don't put a lot of padding and fluff in. I know a lot of major publishers like 80,000 word books, but I was a technical writer, so I cut out all the unnecessary stuff. So my mysteries are around 50,000 because there's no padding. Things are very tight. And that's hard to do, but I see a lot of, even the bestsellers are just padded out because they're like, well, okay, let's put a picnic in or something like that. That just that doesn't add anything to the plot or the character. It's just there for the sake of getting the word count.
Yeah. Great tips and advice. Your workshop is going to be amazing. I can't wait to get the highlights after the fact. So, Dale, if there's someone who's on the fence about registering for the 603, what might you say to encourage them to join us on June 14th?
Absolutely. I find when I went to my first mystery conference, my first writer conference really in the modern day, was at Crime Bake in 2009, which is a local New England one. And I found it up my game by about 2 years in that 3-day conference. You go to these conferences not just to attend the classes, but to hang out with other people, professionals, other people at your stage, fans. You're starting to get your name on the radar. You're learning so much. There's professional agents there. There's people in all aspects of the business. And this is invaluable. It will save you so much time trying to do this on your own, as someone sitting in their room trying to, well, how do I learn about the business? Because it is a business of writing, mystery writing and writing per se, trying to write and make some money at it and continue at it. And by going to this conference, you'll get inspired, you'll get tips, you'll get connections, you'll have so much. I mean, my friend Ian Rogers is there, who's a literary writer who's written an exceptionally funny literary novel, MFA thesis novel, and he's going to be there. And I can't wait to see that, because that's inspirational to show you how to do something in a completely different genre, but how to pull the reader in, entertain them, and make them want to do more, do more in that world. And this conference, I think, will help you a great deal.
Yeah, we actually interviewed Ian Rogers as well for his workshop. Yeah, fascinating guy. I'm glad you brought him up. And, I can't underscore enough of what you said regarding networking at this conference. I think people don't realize how big that is. I know a lot of writers are introverts, and it can be a little bit uncomfortable to push outside that box, but you're right. There's so many opportunities. There's so many people to meet and talk to and learn from, and connect with on a grander scale. So, I hope that our community takes that to heart and decides to come, even if just for the networking. Great, lots of great workshops. We've got craft workshops. We've got let's see, we've got one on marketing. I know that one is full. We do have one on AI as well, using to help with marketing of your book. So there's still some great workshops to sign up for. And we have a fantastic mystery activity that we alluded to in the beginning of this conversation. And before I let you go, Dale, I was hoping that maybe we could just, without giving anything away, just a little taste of what you are the lead detective of in this fun activity.
Thank you. Yes, I can do that. If I can put in a quick plug, as far as marketing, I will have my books there, How to Be a Successful Indie Writer and 87 Ways to Sell More Books, as real good marketing help.
Excellent.
Now, as far as the mystery activity, we have Tess Gerritsen, our guest of honor, who is an exceptional writer. She has a new, fairly new series out. Spy Coast is her first book, and it's got a lot of fun things in it about a person who lives in a retired kind of community in Maine, and a lot of them are former spies. And this is actually true. That's where Tess lives, up in Maine. And she found out there's all these people there, and the stories they can't tell me are wonderful, but even the ones they can are great. So I put together a mystery with clues from the book, with different aspects of things that had happened. And the tables have to form teams and solve the clues to get entered into a raffle, and Tess will pick a prize and pick some winners for some really nice prizes.
I love that. And that is kind of a soft sell into the networking that we're trying to get people to do by
Absolutely.
interacting and
Right.
becoming a team. So I think this
But
is a fantastic activity.
it would help if people have read the book. But if they haven't, we ask that at least one person at the table has read the book, because there will be clues that are coming right from the story of the book. So they have a
Okay.
big advantage in doing that.
Okay, that's fantastic to know. Okay, thank you for sharing that. And Dale, if people want to learn more about you, what's the best way for them to find out?
The website, daletphillips.com. I also have a blog, Dale T. Phillips at blogspot.com. I'm at a bunch of signings. We just had a signing at Barnes & Noble up in Maine 3 days ago. And come to the conference. That's the best way to find out. And yeah, I do have great advice for writers on the marketing, on the business side of it, on the craft side of it. And I do enjoy talking with others and mentoring new writers and editing manuscripts and just being involved in the writing community, giving back and making sure that writers are happier. There's so much angst involved with so many people. And it's like, but it's hard. Yeah, it is. But the heart is the challenge. And getting through that challenge to make good art is what makes it fun.
Agreed. Well, thank you very much for joining me today, Dale. I really appreciate your time. And thanks to everybody for watching. And if you're watching on the replay and you have questions, just reach out to us. And if we need to connect you with Dale, or if you have questions about his presentation as well, we can get you those answers. So thanks again, everyone. Thanks, Dale, for your time. And we hope to see you at the conference on June 14th. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Bye-bye.